the incident in a now-deleted tweet, while Keith would respond by saying that he would say FOD to diss O-Block, but OD Perry was his real friend, so he can't do that.
Would say go deep, but that's my boy. You feel me? I'm from there. You know? But O-Block. Okay.
Things would only go downhill from here, and already during the summer of 2014, O-Block members would allegedly hold people at Keith's mansion at gunpoint while Keith himself was at court, before leaving with a bunch of Keith's expensive items like his chains and watches, with Keith himself hopping on social media to accuse Boss Top, aka Tyree Davis, of the robbery, while Boss Top would openly flaunt the items on social media. Eventually, rumors would begin to spread online that O-Block might have had something to do with Blood Money's murder, with former O-Block member Jay Hood even later claiming that it was King Von and T. Roy who were behind the hit.
That was straight back though. You don't gotta believe it. You can hear whatever. Oh, these people saw this. I don't give a what y'all heard. I ain't out here seeing talking on my like these dudes, bro. Folks them killed T. Roy and Von killed.
However, besides Blood Money, there would seemingly be no other casualties in this beef for years to come, and for a long time, this beef appeared to simmer in the background, perhaps due to the respect that many of the older members still had towards each other, but in recent years, both sides have become increasingly open in dissing each other, like Front Street member Mari posting in 2023 asking how does O-Block supposedly run the King Drive, this being the main street that goes past both of their territories, when they have the same enemies, but nobody from the enemy side ever dies, as well as saying the last person who dissed Blood Money had almost died, and saying F that one guy who tried to fight, an obvious reference to King Von, who was shot down by Quando Rondo's friend Lil Tim after trying to fight Quando in November 2020. Front Street are also openly dissing O-Block by dropping their hand sign, just like Taekwon World, who also remain the main rivals of Front Street. O-Block has also returned the favor, with younger members like Woney dissing Front Street directly by name on Twitter, while other young members would diss Blood Money while on Instagram Live, as well as saying that Front Street had gone extinct.
The Front Street. What the f*** is the Front Street? I'm saying right there, we be sipping on blood while we on the front line.
These kind of fallouts between old friends point to the ever more fracturing state of the Chicago gangscape, with gangs becoming increasingly small and splintered due to the lack of any organized leadership. And nothing is a better example of that than the fact that there have even been conflicts within O-Block in recent years, particularly between the old and new generations. The most infamous example being when one member of the new generation, Manamond, would allegedly shoot a member from the older generation called A-Roy after losing a fight with him in December 2021. This whole incident taking place inside O-Block and being caught on a phone camera filmed from one of the buildings. After this incident, Manamond would shockingly not be arrested, despite the video going viral online, but he was seemingly banned from coming back to O-Block for some time.
Don't ask me about no you don't see me with, or I don't mention none of that. I don't know what's to them. I don't know them. I don't it's going like that. It's that simple. Know not to come around. Don't like me because I'm too slimy. I'm for them to get too slimy. So don't tell me about no you don't see me with or I don't hang with, as I don't know what happened to them. Don't fool no.
However, this ban wouldn't ultimately last, as the old generation would seemingly decide to take the side of Manamond in the end.
I don't know how to coming, man. Stop playing. I'm folding bread.
Frustrating the brother of A-Roy, who felt betrayed by his own generation. However, Manamond's luck wouldn't ultimately last, and in May 2025, he would finally be charged with A-Roy's murder, whilst already being locked up for another case. Lastly, there are also completely new enemies that O-Block has been making in recent years, one of these being a set called Ghoulie Gang, also known as Bloodbath, or 130, this name coming from the location of their hood at 130th Street in the far south side, particularly in the Old Geld Gardens, public housing project and the surrounding areas. This gang is undoubtedly best known for the young rapper Chucky, who is in fact signed to Lil Durk's OTF label, which make his gang's beef with O-Block just that much more complicated. Allegedly, these two gangs had a cordial relationship until about July 2022, when there would be a mass shooting in O-Block, where several O-Block members, including Boss Top, would end up getting shot, with Boss Top later getting asked about the incident by Adam22, but he would have very few words to describe what happened.
What happened? You're just walking around, like we were talking about how O-Block's so nice, but you got shot right over there, right?
I just know I was on my Instagram, I was finna go live, and I just felt something.
You were about to go live?
Yeah, and I just felt something.
Out on the street? Not in the actual complex?
I just felt something happen, that's it.
Pictures from the scene reported by the newspapers would show people getting carried away on stretchers, with interestingly, the man in the picture being a rapper known as Action Savage from Ghoulie Gang, who would post sometime later how this had been his third time getting shot in less than a month. Action Savage had long been affiliated with O-Block, these ties going all the way back to the beginning of the drill movement, as he would later explain to DJ U.
Like, it's a video on YouTube with Boss Top and Dirt. A Boss Top and Dirt video, that 30 Choppers video. Like, right. You can look it up. Like, you gonna see me right there in the thumbnail of the video. This was like, I don't even know what year this was, like 2013 or something like that. Like, this is a minute ago type. But
But for a while, things appeared to be calm. In December 2022, Boss Top would be arrested on gun charges, and he would end up getting locked up for about 2 years. While in July 2023, Action Savage would still actually release a song and a music video together with the O-Block rapper E-Dog. But then, as Chucky begun getting increasingly popular, problems began to appear. As Chucky would rep heavily the Bloodbath moniker for his set, which according to members from O-Block originally came from them. As the O-Block rapper Shoebox Baby would later explain to 16 Shot.
it was a term that was used in our neighborhood. Like, you know, like that's what we call each other. But when the guys like got that from like I think off a movie or something, I ain't tweaking. When the guys got that off a movie or something.
An old movie, right?
Yeah. And we was just calling each other around that time. They was around us. So you know, it's like are you around somebody like y'all pick up lingos like that, you know?
Yeah.
Then, in 2024, these two sets would suddenly begin to go back and forth on social media, with one member of the Ghoulie Gang posting a picture of Mun and Mond, calling him an imposter while saying the Ghoulie Gang are the real Bloodbath, to which Mond would reply by saying who the F is the Bloodbath member who was dissing him, and saying why is he acting like he can't die. This beefing would continue as O-Block members would see Chucky repping the Bloodbath moniker while shooting a music video with Lil Durk and White He Be Fat, with O-Block members hitting back and calling Chucky and his Ghoulie Gang friends swaggerjackers and actors, while the Ghoulie Gang would call O-Block members broke, particularly aiming their words towards the new generation of O-Block, likely due to Lil Durk still being very close with the older generation. But then, things would get even more complicated, as Action Savage would drop a song and music video called Computers, using the classic beat from the 2014 song of Rowdy Rebel and Bobby Shmurda, later used by one of O-Block's biggest rivals, FBG Wooski, to diss them. And he would use this beat to rap a line saying how Boss Top had fronted his move, so he had taken his gun and clapped him back. This line seemingly referring to the night when they had both gotten shot in O-Block, as Action Savage would then confirm during his DJU interview.
Mention Boss Top, right? You know, everybody want to know about the line you dissed him in your Computers remix. Boss Top fronted his. I took his pipe and clapped him.
Yeah.
Yo, Computers remix that's out on YouTube now, dropped 5 months ago.
Yeah, man. Boss Top dork game, like I don't really like we out the pipe, we had that pointed at me type. I'm looking at the pipe type. He just looking at me though type. Like I ain't got no jewelry on. None of that shit. Like cause it be rumors talking about he tried to rob me or he took shit from me. Like ain't nobody ever took from me. Like I ain't ever got robbed before. Point that shit at me. So I'm looking at that. She just talking though. He just. So I'm just looking at that. I look up. Shots got fired, and then, but not from me though. I'm just right there. He got the pipe in my face, and when the shots get getting let off, he just looking all crazy. I just like, he ain't on shit. He ain't on that. I grab it like this. He get to trying to move. Now he trying to force, like, put that in my face. I'm moving that back and forth type. I grab the bottom of that. She try to run. I snatch that. I'll snatch it. So now as I snatch it, he popped the clip out. That I smack his ass. He try to take off. I point that at him. It ain't nothing in the clip though. He ain't even have one up top, man. I took the pipe, but I threw that. Like, I ain't even keep the pipe. Bro, I got shot like right after that. Type, shot me in my leg and shit, like, and took off running type. Then I tried to get to the car. I look up.
The song would prompt the two sides to go back and forth once again, with one O-Block member posting the picture of Action Savage getting put on the ambulance after the incident, while a Ghoulie Gang member would respond by saying how O-Block are goofies and nobody from their side should have made it out alive if O-Block are really who they say they are. Meanwhile, Boss Top would deny even knowing Action Savage when asked about the matter during his No Jumper interview.
This the clout they want, I guess, to get the views. But if he making music and he got stories like that, I think he needs to write urban novels. He needs to just write books. He'll be a good author.
Now that we know more about O-Block's modern-day allies and rivals, let's take a closer look at the two victims of the recent double murder, focusing particularly on Mana Duke, because while Young'un was somebody who was more focused on hustling and staying off the radar of his ops, Mana Duke would allegedly end up doing many things during his life that would ultimately make his rivals hate him enough to follow him all across the city just to take his life. Marmaduke has always been considered to have been one of the most respected members of O Block. Even the notorious King Von, a drill rap icon and an alleged serial killer with 7 bodies, immortalized Duke's menacing reputation on his track Beat Dat Body, where he boasted about taking Duke on hits with him and giving him the menacing nickname King Kong. But the question is, what had Duke done in the streets to make King Von give him such a name? Even though Duke never lived in the Parkway Gardens, aka the O Block housing projects, his destiny was intertwined with that community from early on.
Now, still reside in O Block today, or you've moved out since then?
Oh, no, I don't live in that, no. I don't live in that, though. I thought you said where I was raised at, like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so let's back up. You were raised in O Block from about 8, 9 till when?
I never lived in there, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's true. I never lived in there. I just grew up around in that neighborhood, you know
Got
what I'm
it.
saying?
His family had moved just outside O Block when he was just 8 years old, while having first spent his early years in the so-called Calumet building, aka the Randolph Tower, located only about a block away from Parkway. This building was home to many kids who would later become members of O Block, while at the time it acted as a headquarters for an infamous Black Disciple faction that ran a massive drug operation from there during the 90s and early 2000s, before the building was ultimately demolished in the mid-2000s.
No, I was in that area, like in that vicinity, you know what I'm saying? And once my project got too down, I kind of moved right there, you know what I'm saying, to O Block when I was kind of like a kid.
Duke has opened up in interviews about how his youth was a harsh landscape of poverty and uncertainty.
I grew up, goddamn it, sleeping on the floor, you know what I'm saying, with a house full of people, you know what I'm saying? So that was kind of like a...
And he was also mentioned how he was haunted by the fear of possibly not seeing his own 18th birthday.
Is something gonna happen to me, or will I be able to make it to see this age, you know?
The halls of elementary and high school served as a breeding ground for alliances and animosities. Other kids who would later become members of affiliated gangs like Lamron, 600, and Front Street.
Oh yeah, we all grew up together. Like we all went to the same grammar school, you know? We all went to the same grammar school, and it just went from there, you know? Grammar school to high school, and to the age we is now.
And members of rival gangs like 051 Young Money, who were located on the other side of Washington Park.
We went to school with a lot of motherfuckers from 51st Young Money. There was a lot of their ass, and I ain't gonna lie. A lot of like Rockhead and all their ass, I think. Arrow, all them.
As he got older, Duke would become very close with many of the O Block's most infamous members, including O.D. Perry, T-Roy, and of course King Von. By the age of 14 in 2008, Duke's entanglement with the law became a defining chapter, and his early and frequent arrests and incarcerations led to him dropping out of high school, while also effectively sidelining him during Chief Keef's early ascent to the top of the drill movement in the early 2010s, and the subsequent explosion of King Von's rap career in the late 2010s too.
I'd say Von was a top moment, but I wasn't around for it. I was kind of locked up, but that was like a top moment.
But when he would be free, between those time periods, Duke plunged headfirst into the streets. As mentioned earlier, the tragic murder of T-Roy ignited a firestorm of vengeance within O Block, and the summer of 2017, named the Summer of Get Back, became synonymous with the chilling moniker, the Get Back Gang, as O Block members were out for revenge. Later on, whispers in the streets and rumors on the internet have often pointed to Marmaduke having been one of the central figures in this series of retaliatory killings that followed T-Roy's death. The bloodshed began on May the 14th, 2017, as Warren Delton, known in Jaro City as Lil Ho, became the alleged victim of the Get Back Gang. As he stood with a group near 62nd and Eberhard, only a few minutes' drive from O Block, 4 shadowy figures emerged from an alley. 3 unleashed a hail of gunfire that struck Lil Ho down, and in a brutal display, at least one shooter stood over his fallen body, delivering multiple final shots before vanishing back into the streets. The case remains unsolved, and the perpetrators a mystery to this day. But many key Get Back Gang members, such as McAdoo from 600 and E-Dog, Bleach, and Duke from O Block, are regularly considered to be the main suspects. Just 8 days after Lil Ho's murder, on May the 22nd, the violence continued as Jamie Jones, known in the streets as M.O.B. Jamo, was driving westbound on 59th Street in LaSalle when an occupant of another vehicle opened fire, striking him multiple times. Authorities identified him as a gangster disciple, and his death occurred in the heart of a known gang conflict zone. Though concrete evidence would again remain elusive, the hand of the Get Back Gang was once again suspected, with rumors placing 600 members, McAdoo and Cap, and O Block members, Duke and HK, at the scene. The violence continued a month later. On June the 16th, Taekwondo World member Sherrod Rhyme, better known as Poppy, was at his workplace at the L&P Foods and Candy Warehouse on the corner of 71st and State Street.
The victim, so he worked at this candy store.
Shortly after 3 p.m., a seemingly ordinary act of assisting a customer would turn deadly.
The subject was couldn't walk into the vehicle
when a shooter suddenly appeared from a 4-door vehicle, firing multiple shots at point-blank range before quickly getting back to the vehicle, which would then flee northbound.
Okay, Part 363 Adam, it was With dreads and a white t-shirt and jeans.
Initial suspicions fell on T-Roy's brother, HK, who was seen flaunting his T-Roy pendant in the aftermath of the murder, as if sending a message that he had indeed avenged his brother's death. After this incident, HK, or Heck as he was known at the time, would get his nickname, the initials HK actually being short for Headshot King. While the murder of Poppy has always been attributed to HK, the narrative would get more complex, as members of Taekwon World would heavily memorialize Poppy after Duke's murder, perhaps hinting at a deeper and more direct connection between Duke and Poppy's killing. The witness's description of the shooter was a tall figure with dreads, and that would chillingly align more closely with Mana Duke's appearance at the time, who was both taller than HK and had slightly longer dreadlocks. This convincing some that Poppy's killer had indeed actually been Duke, while it's also possible that he might well have been the driver for the hit. The following year, on June the 16th, 2018, the bloodshed revisited the streets. It was around 9:50 p.m. when two men were gunned down outside of a restaurant on the 400 block of the East 63rd Street, only a stone's throw away from O Block. Troy Hampton, an innocent janitor, aged 43, was struck in the chest, dying at the scene, while 22-year-old DeAndre Wallace, known as Get Right or Man Man from STL EBT, also fell victim to the hail of bullets, succumbing to his wounds in the hospital. Surveillance footage painted a grim picture, showing two shooters running up and relentlessly targeting both victims, even continuing to fire at Get Right as he lay helpless on the ground. While officially unsolved, online theories have pointed strongly towards two members of O Block, Mana Duke and the infamous shooter from the younger generation called Muwop. In the same month, King Von ominously tweeted about a new op pack that his brothers had created, while O Block veteran E-Dog added fuel to the fire, posting a picture featuring Muwop and Duke, accompanied by the caption, "You better get right or get left," a phrase also used in other social media posts that featured both Muwop and Duke. Muwop himself would share a photo with Duke in what fans speculated was them reenacting the murder, as Muwop makes a gun with his fingers pointing directly at the camera, while Duke's gun fingers point towards the ground like he's standing over somebody and shooting, with Muwop captioning the post saying that people have no idea what type of bond they have together, while ending with the cryptic line that the picture speaks for itself. King Von's track Problems again would also eerily mirror the details of this horrific incident, with lyrics describing shooting both the target and a witness, while King Von can even be seen gesturing towards Duke in the track's music video right after he raps these lines. After earning his stripes in the streets, and unfortunately losing King Von, who at the time of his runaway rap career looked like O Block's ticket out of the streets, Duke himself would start rapping in 2021 with what appeared to be his first ever song, 12 AM. A clear homage to King Von's 2020 song, 3 AM, Duke even interpolated Von's flow in his version of the track, while the song as a whole was an incredibly disrespectful diss towards O Block's dead enemies, with one lyric referencing a shooting where a woman got hit, rapping that even if a girl gets hit, he doesn't give a F because he's trying to do his ops like FBG Duck, who was famously shot dead by O Block members who would also hit the woman that he was with. Duke would also give a shout out to one of Duck's killers, C Murder, as well as shouting out Heck, or the Headshot King, rapping how they are the Get Back Gang, kind of implying that HK was his alleged partner in crime and the potential shooter or driver during the hit on Taekwon World member Poppy. Duke would also rap about lurking in the streets trying to kill their ops so much that they forget to even eat dinner, while proudly repping his King Kong nickname that King Von gave him, and saying that you can't even hang out with him if you haven't killed someone. The song also had a music video where Duke could be seen rapping in O Block, flanked by some of the most notorious members like E-Dog and Muwop. Fans loved the song, with many saying that he even had some of King Von's spirit in him, and that they were excited for Duke having a bright future in the rap game. Duke followed that up with songs like Winnin' and Right Back, where he rapped about doing drills where the witness was killed too, with some believing that this is another reference to the janitor that was killed on the Get Right hit. The song was an instant classic. One comment said that Duke was even picking up where King Von left off, and another called Duke 3 for 3 as a rapper. For fans that were longing for that Von-esque flow on hard-hitting beats, Duke appeared to be someone that they could bet on to take over the rap game. Duke also collaborated with other O Block rappers like Ocho Munna and Prince Dre on the remix for Ocho's Bean It song, followed by the songs No Hook and Off the Porch. Then moving on to one of his biggest releases of his career, this interestingly being his first international collaboration with the UK rapper Millions. Their track 10 to the O was an epic collab where Millions actually went to O Block and shot a music video with all the iconic O Block members, with Duke rapping lyrics about a murder eerily resembling Get Right's, saying that he caught someone lacking in front of the store. The video even ended in a respectful chain swap between these two international drill artists. Duke was making big moves internationally with his music. There would also be a rumor that Duke had seemingly tapped in with Central C's most feared op, Digga D, for a collab. And while nothing officially got released, a leaked track called Legally Blind featured the two artists, with Digga immediately dissing a dead op that they've been smoking on so much that he believes that he's now the UK's Tuka. And Mana Duke would rap about being a 13-year-old shooter looking for a body and then walking up and shooting at close range. Duke was getting a lot of motion as a rapper, and he kept releasing singles and music videos all the way through 2022. Then, leading up to the release of his full project, Mana Duke would release the track Passenger Side, rapping that he didn't cry after Von died, but he still planned on getting Get Back, the message most likely aimed at Quando Rondo and Lil Tim, suggesting that the Get Back gang might still be out looking for blood. While Duke would also shout out the up-and-coming generations of O-Block. Then, in August 2023, he released a full project called Welcome to the Jungle, the title and cover art being a clear nod to the fearsome O-Block housing projects. Duke promoted the project with music videos like the song Intro, where he introduced himself as having money to support his mama by buying her a house, his gang by buying them a chain, whilst also paying for many lawyers. Releasing a full mixtape was a huge achievement for Duke, because in a world where few people survive or even start a music career, let alone having the focus to complete a full body of work, is a monumental achievement. But Duke wasn't slowing down, and he would keep putting out music, like his guest verse on perhaps the longest-running O-Block veteran Boss Top song, Get Back Gang, a song that unsurprisingly paid tribute to the Get Back Gang's brutal campaign of revenge after T-Roy's murder. The song also featured the O-Block legend E-Dog, as well as the late Zell Munna. On the track, Duke proudly claimed his King Kong nickname, while rapping how he's back in heck mode after running after ops, and claiming that he puts hits on people for $10,000, as well as promising to slide twice as hard on ops to avenge both T-Roy and King Von. Unfortunately, it was ultimately this very ethos of never-ending Get Back that would likely become Munna Duke's own undoing, and, like it often happens, the Get Back would come when he least expected it. On May the 10th, 2025, Munna Duke and Youngin headed to the north side of Chicago to the Edgewater neighborhood for a fun night out, as they were celebrating fellow O-Block veteran Gleesh's birthday. They would spend the night at the Pork Chop Barbecue Restaurant and Bar on the 6300 block of North Broadway. But as their evening at the restaurant came to a close, and Duke, Youngin, and their group exited the restaurant, at least two gunmen, who had reportedly been hanging out in front of the restaurant waiting for them, would jump out of a vehicle, firing at least 50 shots, hitting Duke, Youngin, and a third man, who some thought to have been Domo from the 600 set, the brother of the founder of 600 called D-Thang. Unfortunately, both Youngin and Duke would tragically pass away, and thankfully, the third man ended up surviving. The aftermath of the shooting was recorded by passers-by that showed Youngin's lifeless body laying on the pavement. An officer familiar with the investigation told newspapers how security video showed the gunman escaping in a stolen Infiniti Q50, which cops found less than 2 hours after the shooting, abandoned and burning on the 600 block of East 134th Place, almost 30 miles south from the scene of the shooting in the far south side. Munna Duke posted a story on his social media just 6 hours before the incident. His last Instagram story featuring him in the car, with whom many believe to be Youngin, Domo, and Domo's sister, listening to G Herbo and flexing jewelry, including his O-Block chain. Meanwhile, Youngin's last post was ominously captioned, "We outside, DM the gang for the location," and Youngin too would be spotted wearing his O-Block chain at the gathering. It would be one such O-Block chain, allegedly splattered with blood, that Duke and Youngin's alleged killers would post not long after the murder, snatched off an O-Block member's corpse, or at least that's what the posters wanted everyone to think. News of the deaths began to spread quickly online, with associates confirming Munna Duke and Youngin's passing through heartfelt posts, including those members of O-Block who were particularly close with the two, like Nuwop, Duke's alleged right-hand man in the murder of Get Right. Munna Duke had also recently become a father, welcoming a child with the former partner of OTF D-Thang, the late brother of rapper Lil Durk. But following him and Youngin's death, it wasn't just those close to them paying their respects, as the well-known ops of O-Block, like STL, EBT, Taekwon World, and Jaro City, would immediately begin to troll on social media. Taekwon World members paying tribute to their fallen friend Poppy, this playing to the long-held rumor that Duke had been involved in his murder. But surprisingly, none of them would pay tribute to Get Right, which many people on Reddit would argue was actually proof that Duke wasn't one of the shooters in that case. But meanwhile, O-Block and their younger generations like TSG would make social media posts promising Get Back, with members of TSG announcing to the world, and probably the police, that they were already busy sliding on their ops, posting on social media, asking where the ops are, and that they must have gone into hiding, knowing that O-Block was on hunting time. But who they were hunting is a completely different matter, as it seems that when it comes to the possible suspects, there are many different theories. One of the leading drill reporters in Chicago, or drill historian as he calls himself, Truth Teller TV, would suggest that the murder may well have been in retaliation for the murder of rapper FBG Duck, meaning that the suspects may be from the sets close by O-Block, like STL EBT, aka Tukaville, where Duck was from, or possibly Taekwon World, which has many members closely affiliated with Duck's set.
You know, it's a real war. It's already talk in the street that this is get back for FBG Duck. And they did this for FBG Duck. I'm not sure. I don't want to throw that out, But I can tell you, it looked like they were targeted and murdered. The streets are talking, and people saying this revenge for Duck.
Another YouTuber from Chicago, also known as a Jaro City original and a close friend of FBG Duck, FYB J-Main, would take to his YouTube channel to comment on the situation, racking up hundreds of thousands of views within a matter of days, and reporting on the murders with a somber tone, despite being from the rival area.
Sad day in Chicago, bruh. Two of the main old blockians lost their lives last night, bro, due to gun violence in Chicago, bro. We don't know what's going on, bro. So it's kind of early to start pointing fingers and all of that. It's never a good feeling when you lose your brother, you lose somebody who close to you, you even lose somebody a friend that you could be able to call.
As those who have followed the Chicago drill scene know, despite J-Main's previous involvement in the gang war as a member of a gang who was some of the main rivals of O-Block, he spent the last few years pushing peace in the Chicago drill community and trying to build bridges between people from rival gangs, even visiting O-Block himself in vlogs while attempting to repair the fractures between these two warring communities.
We got homework on I got one of the original old blockians taking me to the O right now. Let's just start here.
Alhamdulillah, Bismillah, Rahim, Alhamdulillah. We represent that Muslimatic, man. Represent that Muslimatic. We live here in O Block. We got J Main, we got DQ from O Block. We bring it, man. We make the peace. We push the peace and prayer on purpose. Alhamdulillah, the brothers gonna make peace right here on camera. Allahu Akbar.
However, not everyone was welcoming J-Main with open arms, and during a subsequent visit to O-Block, he was forced to flee the scene after O-Block veteran E-Dog turned up, furious about J-Main making comments about him in interviews.
He got me on DJ. He can't do this. Got no say so. I ain't got no respect for him.
Duke had actually come out after this visit and dissed J-Main too, suggesting that it was disrespectful of him to pose with his cereal brand in front of King Von's mural whilst also wearing a ski mask. It's understandable why O-Block members might have felt some type of way, because before J-Main was pushing peace, he was known for pulling stunts like going to O-Block with a machine gun on him. After apparent pressure behind the scenes, J-Main would take to his channel once again, giving a chilling update on how he's been warned about pushing peace with his former rivals, given just how deadly the beef still is.
What was telling me now, J-Main, you better keep it on you now. Two old blockians just got whacked. You, even the Whoop man out here pushing this piece, and you out here trying to stop the violence the whole time. When like this happen, it's kind of a smack in the face. Do something different in my life, bro. Either you gonna respect me or you not.
But somewhat surprisingly, suspicions on the culprits of this double murder would also begin to fall on O-Block's former friends, Front Street, as online sleuths would claim that the person in the pictures holding the O-Block chain while wearing a ski mask was actually a Front Street member called Bawop, who, according to online detectives, is tied to at least two other murders, these being towards Front Street and O-Block's common enemies, the murder of Cord from STL EBT in 2021 and Lil Take from Taekwon World in 2022. Then, another leaked image would get posted on Reddit, showing another alleged member of Front Street wearing the same chain, the caption simply being a series of laughing emojis. But as the person who had posted the image would notice that it had been shared on Reddit, he would seemingly decide to delete his entire Instagram account, with the Redditors predicting that their self-snitching had made certain that they would get caught. Meanwhile, O-Block would catch wind of the rumors floating around the net, with both Ike Munna and Ocho Munna commenting on a post saying that the chain isn't Youngun's or Duke's. In reality, it seems unlikely that anyone would spend time trying to remove a chain off someone's neck in such a public place, not knowing if the victim's friends were going to return fire at any moment. Meanwhile, other Reddit detectives have pointed out how the getaway vehicle was found burning literally right next to the Old Geld Gardens, the home of OTF Chuckies, an Action Savages ghoulie gang, aka Bloodbath, while their members would also post subliminal Instagram posts like an emoji showing two fingers up, this seemingly implying that they had just caught two of their ops. If these rumors are true, this could mean that O-Block is about to face some very difficult times, and the question becomes, who would Lil Durk and his OTF affiliates side with? Their longtime friends from O-Block, who have done many things with Durk and for Durk, but who have recently lost many key members due to death or prison, or Ghoulie Gang, whose rapper Chucky is currently one of the top artists on Lil Durk's OTF label, which desperately needs somebody to bring in money, now that Durk will likely stay locked up for a long time. Many people seem to think that this case could be solved any day now, if the Chicago police are just willing to allocate some of the required resources, but they often take their time, and only time will tell if anyone is going to face justice. So for now, I just want to say rest in peace to Munna Duke and Youngun, and for anybody watching this growing up in these kind of harsh environments that I'm talking about in this video, stay safe, and remember, the streets and the gang lifestyle only tends to end one of two ways. So don't crash out, and remember that you are worthy of a long and fulfilling life. Thanks for watching. Peace.
3 more jail escapes have just taken place. Folks, this escape season has been one of the wildest. I can't remember a year prior where there's been this many damn escapes as the weather begins to change and the summertime approaches. I don't know exactly why around this time every year escapes seem to rise. But again, this particular year is definitely one for the record books. In each of these latest escapes, the prisoners got out. They got away. But the one thing that they all have in common is they have all been reapprehended. They were not out on the run for very long at all, and each one of them is now facing additional charges. Let's go ahead and start with one that may sound a little familiar. Back down in Louisiana, we have had yet another escape in Tangapoa or Powa Parish. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. I know that I probably am, and I've caught hell in the comments section every time that I try to pronounce this particular parish. Another work release prisoner walking off of the job saying, "This shit is for the birds. Catch me if you can." And unfortunately, in this guy's case, they did. Work release inmate back in custody after escaping job site in Tangapoa Parish. Somebody please sound that out for me down in the comments section. We've had multiple prisoners escaping from work release programs, and each time that we hear of a story like this, I always wonder, like, why? Why would you risk tricking up the best, easiest, graviest time that you could ever serve, and knowing that if and when they catch you, and more likely it's just when, and oftentimes it's pretty quickly after you attempt to escape, why would you risk tricking up the graviest time you could ever serve, knowing that when they catch you, your ass is going to be serving hard time and additional time when they do? Tickfall, Louisiana. The Tangapowa Parish Sheriff's Office has returned a work release inmate to custody who walked off a job site on Thursday, June 5th. Authorities say 42-year-old Donald Ray Wilson left the job site around noon in the 51,000 block of Highway 51 in Tickfall. At the time, he was last seen on foot heading north wearing gray sweatpants, Nike shoes, and a black and gray jacket. You out there on work release and you ain't even got a ride waiting on you? Situation like this makes me think he's probably arguing with his old lady, with his girlfriend, with his significant other. Maybe it was love that made this guy walk off the job site. I've been doing some research because one video that I want to share with you guys very soon is exactly how much time an escape charge carries, because there are so many different facets to escapes. Now, the information that I've been running across is specific to my state, Virginia. I would imagine that it is similar in other states. For example, and this is the actual code from the state of Virginia, escape from jail or custody by force or violence without setting fire to jail. Now, this is very specific. If you escape by force or violence, but you don't set a fire, you're guilty of a Class 6 felony. A Class 6 felony in the state of Virginia carries 1 to 5 years. That time is tacked on to the end of your sentence. They do not run it concurrent. It is consecutive, meaning you got to serve whatever time you're locked up for first before that 1 to 5 can then begin. There's a lot of different facets to escapes in Virginia, things that can be tacked on. Things such as covering a security camera in a correctional facility. This is a charge in itself. Any person who intentionally covers, removes, damages, renders inoperable, or otherwise obscures a security camera without the permission of the sheriff, jail superintendent, warden is guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor. So just covering up the camera is a Class 1 misdemeanor that carries up to 12 months in jail. But if you damage that camera, cut the phone lines, cut the wires, render it inoperable, another Class 6 felony. Escaping without force or violence or setting a fire to a jail. Now, this is going to be similar to this guy down in Tangapoa. If you're serving time for a misdemeanor, the escape is only a misdemeanor. If you're serving time for a felony, the escape is a Class 6 felony. Again, 1 to 5, or if it's a misdemeanor, up to an additional 12 months added onto your sentence. But if you escape and you set a fire to do so, that is a Class 4 felony.
And a class 4 felony is an additional 2 to 10 years in prison. Just wanted to share that quick little information with you guys in terms of potential additional time that an escape charge could carry. This guy Wilson down in Louisiana was placed back in custody around 1:30 Friday morning, June the 6th. Again, keep in mind he escaped around 3 p.m. the day prior. Wasn't even out for 24 hours before they caught this guy again. Look at this picture right here with the sheriff's office, all smiles. Buddy got the big ass crowbar right there. And yeah, man, we got this dude back in custody. We feel like SEAL Team 6 out here getting the job done. Wilson, a convicted felon from Tickfall, was serving time for a parole violation related to firearms possession. Man, you had the sweetest time again out there on work release, and you just tricked this up. You're going to be doing some hard time from here on out. He was participating in a Department of Corrections program that allows selected inmates to work outside jail facilities with approved partner businesses, and probably was making some decent money. Hopefully you was. Living high on the hog, able to go to commissary. Why trick that up? Got a picture of him right here just walking off the job site. Yep. He said, forget that jazz. 12 hours of freedom is going to be worth an additional 1 year, probably added on to his sentence for this escape. Let's go to Lafayette County, Mississippi. Inmate recaptured after brief escape during trash detail. This particular story reminds me of when I was a trustee inside of a particular jail and we had to take out the trash. Without even reading this story or knowing anything about it, I want to say this. When they let your ass up outside of the jail and you haven't been outside in a while, you're going to immediately think about running. It's just human nature. Human nature is to run, evade, escape, capture. Nobody wants to be captured for nothing. You know, when you think about why so many escapes are taking place, what's the rationale, what's the psychology behind this? Sometimes there really just isn't. Sometimes it's just air and opportunity that sparks the situation to occur. When I was in jail and we were taking out the trash, there were blind spots, there was opportunity, there was a short distance from the loading dock to the fence line. It was possible, it was plausible, and it was certainly thought of, at least by me, and I'm sure by countless others as well. I'm sure there's been people at that particular jail who have just up and tried to escape in that same scenario. So something like that could be the case with some of these stories that we're hearing about as of late. Lafayette County, Mississippi witnessed a temporary breach in its jail system when inmate Lorenzo Shaw briefly escaped while on trash detail. According to Action 5 News, Shaw, who was initially incarcerated for nonviolent offenses, managed to evade the jail work detail, prompting an immediate search by deputies. Geez, I wonder how long this guy was on the run for. Probably not very long at all. The incident unfolded on June the 2nd with Shaw taking his leave from the work detail along CR 104. And despite the sudden disruption and potential danger, the deputy in charge was able to secure the other inmates and alert backup as reported by the news. Shaw's escape ended after a mere hour when authorities successfully recaptured him. I gotta believe this is definitely one of the briefest escape runs that we've heard about lately. The sheriff's office took to social media to inform the public of Shaw's capture by sharing a photo of him in the backseat of a police car. Look at the look of utter disgust and embarrassment, defeat on this guy, thinking to himself, man, why did I just try to do that? This swift resolution to what could have evolved into a more severe situation comes as a relief to the local community. The Lafayette County Sheriff's Office says Shaw will face additional charges in connection with the incident. Seemed like a good idea on paper, or at least at the time, until that idea only panned out to last for an hour. Is 1 hour worth an additional year added onto your sentence? Absolutely not. Maybe he's able to beat this charge. Could you think of any rationale that could be used as a defense for somebody in a situation like this? Personally, I cannot. Last story we got is a real goodie right here. Details released on Blair County inmate escape. Additional charges filed after recapture. Folks, this jail where this guy was housed at looks like a freaking castle, a dungeon. But let's go to Blair County, Pennsylvania, Authorities have released new details about the escape and subsequent recapture of David Ramos, an inmate at the Blair County Prison. But it's not from the prison where this guy escaped from. It was from a transport van. They say Ramos, who was being held on assault charges, was apprehended without incident last Wednesday after a brief escape. According to the Hollidaysburg Borough Police Department, officers responded to reports of an individual in an orange jumpsuit walking through town at around 5:10 p.m. with handcuffs and leg shackles on. Nothing suspicious about that at all. Can you imagine this guy trying to talk to somebody? Excuse me, sir. You wouldn't happen to have a pair of bolt cutters on you, would you? Witnesses confirmed the sighting, and Blair County Prison verified that Ramos was missing. What? Hold on. Read between the lines here. They said officers responded to reports of an individual in an orange prison jumpsuit walking through town around 5:10 p.m. with handcuffs and leg shackles. Witnesses confirmed the sighting, and Blair County Prison verified that Ramos was missing. So the public was not notified of this escape. Not until people started calling in saying, hey, there's a guy walking through town with leg shackles and restraints and an orange jumpsuit. Oh, yeah, we forgot to mention we had an escape. Can you imagine being a civilian and seeing this? This has got to look like a lottery ticket walking down the street right there. Oh, shit. I'm about to get me some reward money. But no, there was never any mention of no reward. Hey, what are you talking about? Authorities say he was captured about 20 minutes later in the 300 block of North Montgomery Street. They say the investigation revealed that Ramos, along with other inmates, had been transported back to the prison from Central Court. Upon arrival at the prison Sallyport, Ramos concealed himself behind the back seat of the transport van while the other inmates disembarked. How do you load up 4 prisoners in a van but only 3 get out, and you don't immediately notice that one guy is missing? But he just laid down in the back seats, and that's all it took for him to be able to get away. He then crawled through a window in the partition of the van, gaining access to the front seating area, where he stole a transporting officer's cell phone and pack of cigarettes, according to the Hollidaysburg Police Department. They say Ramos returned to the back of the van and remained hidden. At around 4:40 p.m., they say the transporting officers parked the van in the county parking garage. And it was then that one officer realized his cell phone and cigarettes were missing. Reviewing camera footage, the officers discovered Ramos had been left in the van. By the time they returned to check, Ramos had already exited the van and fled. Authorities say Ramos was recaptured shortly thereafter, bringing an end to his brief escape. Thank God you didn't leave a gun up in the van. What about an additional set of handcuff keys? Those had to be in the van as well. Maybe he just couldn't find them. Ramos has been charged with escape and other related offenses, including theft. Not only do you have an escape charge that you're going to be getting now, you probably got a grand larceny or a stealing charge for that cell phone and those cigarettes. Diabolical situations taking place as of late, folks, and the biggest story still unfolding down in New Orleans. Derek Groves and Antoine Massey, absolute escape martyrs at this point. At the time of filming this, on the run now for 4 weeks. I guess at least somebody got away, it seems like. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this video and found some interest in this. And if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you think. If you find yourself here on After Prison Show enjoying this content but not yet subscribed to this channel, please consider doing so and turning on bell notifications so that you never miss an upload from us. It would certainly be appreciated and go a long ways to helping to support this channel. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day.
My brand new track, 2 Times, together with Steve Aoki, is available now on TikTok, and I can't wait to see all the amazing creations you guys are gonna come up with.